Recently, I sat down and watched The Last of Us show. By now, almost everyone has seen this show, and for good reason. Whether you played the original game or not, the story being told was something that everyone could relate to in one way or another. I've heard many relate to Joel and his determination to save those he cares about, no matter the cost. The actors do a fantastic job in making these characters that many have grown to love stay true to the original game while also adding new elements to them. I love this game, and I love the show, but there was something the game did better than I think the show ever could.
Don't scare it.
I won't.
This is one of the most iconic scenes in the game and the show. Joel and Ellie have fought to survive and have seen terrible things.
Somebody, we've just been through hell. Okay, we just need...
And then you have this scene. There's no action, there's no enemies, nothing. Of all things, a giraffe was one of the last things I think anyone expected, and yet this is one of the most beautiful scenes I've ever seen in a game. The first time I saw this scene, I just tried to soak it all in. At first I thought, this is an amazing game. The story, the character, it's no wonder why everyone loves this game so much. And then I saw this.
Oh, man. Wow.
I wasn't thinking about the struggles Joel and Ellie were going through during their fungus pandemic. Instead, I reflected on the hardships that my family and I had gone through in recent years. I thought of my friends and everything we've done to support each other when we were going through something rough. I easily spent an hour after this scene was done just reflecting. While the show had the same scene, it just felt too quick. I wanted to stay just a little bit longer. Just watching the giraffes walk by. That is one of my favorite feelings that games can give. Self-reflection. It's easy for games to make us feel excited for an upcoming battle or sad due to a character dying, but it seems rare to me that a game can make me think of myself and who I've become. Self-reflection is something that I've been trying to do more of. Of course, this introspection seems to come in mainly two ways for me. When I'm playing a game, or I'm listening to music. As I write the scripts for these videos, I mainly listen to either jazz or video game soundtracks. I've actually been listening a lot to the Minecraft soundtrack. Speaking of which, for those who don't know, introspection essentially is the idea of reflecting on your own life. This is helpful to many in learning about themselves and for bettering their outlook on life. So I figured, what better game is there on reflecting on life than what is essentially a life simulator? I've already made a video of why Minecraft is one of the most important games I've ever played, but I think this is a game that nearly everyone can reflect on. When I revisited this world that I made with my friends and family, I began to think of not only the fun times I had with them while making this world, but also just the fun times we had outside of this game. From making board games to playing basketball, this game only represented one small aspect of my connections with people. I think what makes Minecraft a great place for self-reflection too is that there is no ending. While making this channel, I've been playing more games so that I have more things to talk about. But games that encourage self-reflection give me the opportunity to see that games are meant to be enjoyed, not just finished. Now, many view the idea of introspection as something that doesn't belong in gaming. Games are supposed to be a place for fun and excitement, but I think the feeling of introspection works better in video games than movies. Many films do have moments when you can reflect on yourself, but this reflection seems to happen only until after the film is done. In games, you have the opportunity to take a break. I know many view video games as being mindless or pointless, but they have the opportunity to make you think about who you are in certain ways. Undertale is a perfect example of forcing you to think of who you are. With a game that emphasizes the importance of choices, many people seem to go on two different paths. There's the pacifist route, where the player aims to not harm a single enemy they come across. This is difficult, but the ending is satisfying and rewarding. You meet wonderful characters, see how they interact with each other, and learn more about the world that these characters live in. Even the save points within the game are filled with jokes. Overall, the pacifist route is a rewarding journey. On the other hand, there's the genocide route, where rather than saving everyone, your only goal is to defeat every enemy that you come across. At first, it just seems like a normal game. You kill an enemy, you level up, and you move on. But as you move on, you notice small things begin to change. There are less characters in the world, the music isn't as happy as it once was, and even the save points change. The jokes are now changed with a counter, showing how many more enemies there are left for you to kill before you can move on. By the end of the game, you come across one of the hardest bosses in the game, regardless of which route you chose. This is where you're faced with your most difficult dilemma. This is a hard boss, one that requires a lot of patience and a lot more focus. Will killing him be worth it in the end? Once Sans is done, the world is deleted and you have to wait a full 10 minutes alone. Nothing on the screen, no jokes, no characters. Just the sound of wind. The game essentially asks you, what have you done? Are you proud of yourself? While it's not the happiest of self-reflections, it does make you think about what you're willing to do when put up to a challenge. The reward is empty, but it's also fitting too. Now, if you've seen my nostalgia video, this next game may be a bit surprising to you. Yes, as much as I thought the remake to Shadow of the Colossus was a game that was overhyped due to nostalgia, I also think it provides players a good opportunity to reflect upon themselves. When traveling the overworld, there were times I would just let my mind wander. After each battle with the Colossus, I didn't think about much, and even though there was no dialogue to make me think otherwise, I began to think about why I was doing this. Was this doing anything, or were these creatures just dying because the game told me to? This really hit when I began to listen to the music that plays after each Colossus is taken down. There isn't a fanfare of celebration, but a mellow and almost depressing theme that plays. Once I noticed that, I did appreciate the game just a bit more. With very little dialogue and almost nothing to look at in the overworld, Shadow of the Colossus provides players the perfect environment for self-reflection. Now, the last game I want to cover, I think, represents the best example of introspection on my own life. Everyone has one scene in a game that helps them learn more about themselves. Sometimes these scenes are intentional, and other times they just kind of show up. This example was not one that I was expecting, but is the most meaningful to me. I know I mentioned in a previous video that I rage-quitted Hollow Knight. With frustrating battles and a crushing death system, this game is difficult to say the least. But when I'm here, with the music and the rain, I feel calm and just let my mind wander. In fact, this scene is pretty early on within the game too. I remember thinking of this scene as a place to reflect on where I really started. When I was about 14 or 15, my grandpa gave me a camera for Christmas. I didn't express any interest in photography, but I also didn't express any interest in anything other than Disney at the time. I remember just taking photos of just about anything because I was curious. They weren't good, but they were mine. Fast forward about a year and I was still playing with that camera. I knew some more skills, such as the rule of thirds, but my knowledge was still very limited. That was until I took one photo at Disney World. It was of a bench. I have no idea why, but that photo was what led me to continue learning. My grandpa sent courses, books, and just about anything he could to fuel this passion. Later, I created a YouTube channel for short films so that others could see my work too. If it wasn't for that one act of kindness, I wouldn't be making this or any other videos for that matter. So when I see this bench, I begin to reflect on where it all started. With my grandpa, a camera, and a bench. Bringing out emotions during a game is pretty much expected. Many simply play games because they want an escape. They want a place that's fun or exciting. I'd go as far to say that almost every game aims for just about that. But when game developers dig deeper and not only encourage but essentially force the player to reflect, you have made a memorable game. I believe that video games have the power to not only tell a gripping story with memorable characters, but they can also be a tool to help us reflect on ourselves and understand what it means to be human. The world is busy. The world will always be busy. With so much going on, it can be easy to forget who we are. So however you go about it, whether it's making videos, taking photos, cooking, crocheting, take some time to reflect on yourself, where you've come from, and who you are. And as always, chase the chaos.